Hey everybody, Bladesofgod here from Hammer Bros Gaming, coming at you with the newest installment in our Gears Tactics Immortal Legion Achievement Guide. Today we're going to be diving into the Act 3 Chapter 4 side mission. Instead of doing all three of the side missions that are required of us in one video, I'm going to do a separate video for each mission because these missions are getting to be a little more difficult, a little more involved, and if I did all three of the missions in one video, the video would be over an hour and a half long. And that just seemed like too much, so I'm going to break them up into kind of a three-part mini-series within the series. Today we're going to be covering the Grim Eclipse rescue mission. It tasks us with going to the mission with only a lone soldier, one unit, and rescuing two other units who are imprisoned, and escaping, obviously, with everybody alive. If you're not familiar with what the Immortal Legion achievement is, I'll give you a brief rundown. Basically, it tasks us with completing the entire game, start to finish, on the highest difficulty setting, without losing a single unit in combat. Now, we can release or dismiss units in the caravan between missions. That doesn't count against us. And if we do lose a unit in combat, we can restart from a checkpoint or restart the mission. It doesn't invalidate the achievement at all as long as we finish the last mission of the game, all of our units alive, never having lost a unit in combat. The achievement should unlock. The last thing I'll say before we dive into the video proper, if you find this video helpful, if you find this video series helpful, please consider liking and subscribing to Hammer Bros Gaming. Leave a comment on the video letting us know how it helped you out. We're going to have more of these videos coming out. We are getting close to the end of the game, so hopefully this long project will be wrapped up soon. And I hope you guys find this helpful. But that's enough of me. Let's get into the video because I know that's what you're here for. Alright, so like I said, we're going to start with the Grim Eclipse Basgar rescue mission. We need to optionally deploy one or more scouts. We can only deploy one unit as that's the modifier. So we're going to send in our scout Marcella, our grenade happy scout that is set up to do maximum grenade damage and have grenades available very often. Looking at her equipment, we're going to start with her Nasher. We have the impact grip or the precision grip. We really want to have that passive skill of expertise, so our skills are reduced by 1. We're going to use our precision handle for 13% accuracy, or a 13% accuracy bonus, I should say. We do have the stable handle as well for focus, but that's not really as effective, so we're going to stick with what we have. We have the precision sights, we have the power barrel for plus 30 damage. We do have the impact grip, which again, it could be useful because we do want to have that knockdown ability, but we're not going to really worry about it. We have 2 of the rare snubs in place, but we're going to stick with the uncommon snub for her. She has the rare frag grenades for the increased damage. For her helmet, we have the UIR regulator with the blast zone skill for plus 25% radius on grenades. For her chest rig, we have the UIR regulator for increased health and the grenadier skill, which again, we're going for all of those frag and stim grenade, all those frag grenade and proximity mine skills. And then we have the UIR holsters that are set to rare for the utility belt, which reduces our cooldown on frags by 2 turns. And I'm checking right now because I was pretty sure that I had an epic set of the UIR braces, and it doesn't look like I do. So we are going to go ahead and stick with what we have equipped. You just saw the full loadout. Looking at our skill tree, you can see we have Sprint level 2, Anticipation level 1, Demolition Expert, which is going to be very, very useful, Frag Grenade Mastery, which is also going to be useful, so our frag should be ready every turn between the skills, Extended Cloak, Proximity Mine, Free Cloak, Stalker, and Cloak. So we have the ability to turn invisible, we have a lot of grenades at our disposal. It's going to be very, very useful, very, very helpful for dealing with a lot of enemies trying to get to these torture pods. But let's dive right into the mission here and kind of go through it step by step like we've been doing all along, and hopefully we can show you guys how to get through this. So you can see there's one of the pods there, the other one is right there, and this map it's not great because there is a lot of distance between the 2 pods, and we do start on the high ground, which is nice, but we always know that somewhere right around there is going to be a clutch of enemies that we have to deal with. Usually it's some wretches, but I'm just kind of scoping out which way my best path is going to be if I want to head down to the left pod first or up to the right. And it doesn't really look like there's much of a difference. There is an obvious stairwell right front and center there that I could use, and then there's a ladder off to the left. But what I'm going to do to start is I'm just going to move into slide into cover to try to see where the enemies are at. And they're way off to the left here. I kind of thought they were going to be a little bit closer. So you can see what I want to do is I want to get close enough to try to get a frag on them. And I'm going to try to take cover here. It gives me double cover on 2 sides, which is great. and I'm going to get a frag grenade down there. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be enough to kill both of them, but I can definitely take one out and severely damage another. The other thing I can do is I could risk it, use the anticipation skill, which would give me an extra action point at the start of my next turn, but I thought, nope, you know what, let's start taking these guys off the map one at a time. Better to lessen their numbers than hope that they don't get me and I have another skill or another action point for the next turn. So unfortunately, they both overwatch me, and this is why having a scout is fantastic, because I can cloak, and if I had run out without cloak on, they would have demolished me. I would have had no chance. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to use one action point, move far enough to the side that I'm out of their overwatch cone. You can see I'm double checking, making sure I'm not still overwatched, and I'm going to get far enough over that I can again use a frag grenade and take these guys out. And I can, in fact, because I damaged that other drone on the first turn, I was able to take both the drones off with my second grenade. Not a problem at all. So now we're clear to start actually approaching the torture pods. You can see I still have one turn left. I'm sort of trying to figure out what I want to do. Do I want to come down to this right side where I'm going to have a little bit more cover if there's locusts inside the building where the torture pod is? Do I want to come down to the left? I decide to try and enchant it and move to the right and see if I can get some of the locusts to come out of the fog of war a little bit. And it doesn't happen on this turn. You can see I'm going to burn all 3 action points moving up, trying to scout out where the enemies are located. And again, I don't have a whole lot of luck. I'm not able to spot anybody. None of the enemies come out of the fog of war, so I'm a little perturbed right now because I still don't know where the next batch of enemies are going to be. So I'm going to come down here, take cover on this, I don't know, fruit stand, I guess, maybe? And again, there's no enemies in sight yet, so I move up, and there they are. So my plan was, if I had one action point left, I would have cloaked if the enemies were in range, but because I had to use all 3 action points again, I wasn't able to cloak, and they saw me, so now they moved up on my position and know exactly where I am. So you can see that what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a proximity mine. I'm going to set it right next to that drone that's closest to me with the overwatch, and I could have left it alone and then used the frag grenade on the other drone behind the wall. But instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the frag grenade, and what this is going to do is it's going to cause the proximity mine to blow up, and it's going to actually take that drone, or it might not have been a drone, it might have been, I can't remember what they're called, a disciple, off the map, because it detonated the proximity mine, and it was 2 explosions in one, so double the damage, so to speak, and it took him off the map, which is great. I cloak, and because of free cloak, I had another action point, and I decided to move up, and I only have one enemy who's guarding that torture pod. Now, when it comes to these rescue missions, generally my personal preference is I break the mission up into 5. So you have 15 turns to rescue your prisoners. I have 5 turns to clear out the initial enemies and get to the torture pod, then 5 to clear the second set of enemies and rescue him. So I should, after my first 5, have the first prisoner rescued. The second 5 should get me to the second chamber, and that leaves me 5 turns to get to deal with any incidents or any issues that may arise. So it's, you know, sort of a tight schedule to try to keep, so to speak, but I think we do a pretty good job of it. And as I was talking, you could see that I did manage to rescue that first prisoner, so now I have doubled my attack force, which is fantastic. And using the newly rescued prisoner's Retro Lancer, we retro-charge that disciple and get him off the map. So we are clear of enemies right now, but you know we're going to have reinforcements coming in, as always, immediately after we rescue a prisoner. So we're going to get into cover and kind of wait to see where they drop on the board and prepare to take them out and get to the next torture pod. So there's the reinforcements that dropped in. We had 4 wretches by the look of it, and I believe it was Cantus, but that's fine because they're all bunched together really nicely for me. So I'm going to move my scout up, and Marcella is going to use her frag grenade and really clean house right here. There are a couple of different ways we can go about this. We could use the proximity mine frag grenade trick that we used earlier, especially to try to do some damage on that Cantus in the back. We could throw the frag grenade and try to take out as many of these wretches as possible. You can see I'm toying with the options right now. Or we could take out the front 3 wretches with frag grenade, then set the proximity mine on the wretch and the Cantus in the back. And you can see I did switch back over to my frag grenade, and what I'm going to do is try to take out as many of the wretches as possible while damaging the Cantus as much as possible, since he's going to become the biggest threat. So there goes the grenade. We took out 3 of the wretches. I have 1 turn left, and what I'm going to actually do is Ghost. I'm going to use my Cloak, and then I'm going to move up, because I want to close in on that Cantus so I can do damage with her, or do damage with Marcella on the Cantus. And I'm going to move the rescue unit, the Vanguard, and try to get an angle on this wretch with a grenade. You can see right now I don't have an angle that can bounce that grenade over for me. So I am going to have to move up a little bit, but I want to make sure that I'm in cover. So here we go. We use 2 action points. We get to cover. That gives me a nice, clean line of sight on that last wretch. Big thing is I need to get close enough to the wretch to kill it or hurt it without hitting Marcella. And the problem is, when I retrocharged that last disciple, I got the poison status. And what the poison status does is it reduces damage that you deal, even on something like a frag grenade. I don't know why that makes sense that a frag grenade would do less damage because I'm hurt, but it is what it is. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to do enough damage to kill that wretch, but thankfully I was in cover, and when the wretch came up and hit me, the damage he dealt was reduced, and I was able to survive. Not by much, I only have 137 health left, but now he's point blank, and I'm just going to lay into him with my Retro Lancer. That takes him off the board, which is fantastic. So we still have this Cantus to deal with before we move up. I'm trying to figure out what my best bet is here, because I don't want to get too close to him if I can't do enough damage and take him off the map this turn. So I actually move up a little bit. I'm going to set the proximity mine right next to him. And my idea now is that if I can get him to move, whether by shooting him or blowing him up, or even waiting until he moves on his own on the next turn, that proximity mine should blow up and interrupt him, causing me to have a new set of turns to try to take him down. I move up the Vanguard, and I'm going to use the Rage Shot skill because I've taken so much damage that it will deal a lot of damage to the Cantus, and it does. It takes the Cantus off the board, and thankfully, you know, we're clear to move up to the next Torture Pod. We are, like I said, running behind a little bit. Normally, I like to be at the Torture Pod by this point and taking care of the guards around it, but we still got 6 turns. We're going to grab this case because, well, it's never a bad idea to get extra kit. You never know what these cases are going to have for you. And I'm going to slowly start moving my units up to get into position to free the last prisoner. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this map is very wide open. Like, it is, I'm sorry, it's not wide open, it's wide. There's a lot of space to cover, a lot of ground to cover from point A to point B. And again, because we're not close enough, the fog of war is still blocking out where the enemies are located. I can't see them, and that's not great, because if they're just on the other side of that little building, then if I am not careful, I'm going to put myself in a situation where they're going to be able to surround me, and I will not survive their coming turn. So instead, I use Anticipation, which is going to give me an extra turn at the beginning of my next, or an extra action point at the beginning of my next turn. Then I use Cloak, which is going to allow me to obviously be invisible, but also activate Stalker, which gives me increased movement range. And thankfully, just that little bit of movement was enough to show where one of the enemies are, and the other one comes charging out from the Fog of War as well, which is great. It's just, that is perfect. It's exactly what I wanted to happen, because now they are bunched together. They are both exposed. I have my frag grenades available. I have 4 action points with Marcella. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to throw my frag grenade because my proximity mine is not available. Unfortunately, it's not enough to kill either one of the disciples, but they're both interrupted, so there's no longer a Overwatch cone that is active on the area, so I can move freely if I need to. I still have 3 turns with Marcella and 3 turns with my Vanguard, or 3 action points to use on this turn. And you can see my Vanguard also has her grenade available. She has her retro charge available. So I do have options here, and using the retro charge is going to get me much, much closer. It covers a lot of ground very quickly, as you can see. So boom, there we go, Disciple off the board. Unfortunately, what that does is it does poison me again. So my attack is going to be much, much lower than it was previously. But we're going to use a frag grenade, I believe, and try to take this guy off the board. It's still not enough. He's going to get blown up by that grenade right at his feet. He's going to survive on 32 health, and hopefully Marcella is going to be able to take him out so we don't have to worry about him causing us any more problems. We're going to use the snub because it is a little bit of a distance, and the snub is a lot better at range than the Gnasher is. That's something that I should mention. I don't mention it very often. Don't sleep on the snub pistol. it's not your primary weapon, it doesn't deal huge damage, but in a situation like that where you have to deal with an enemy who has low health at a long distance, and you're playing a class like the Scout who uses primarily the shotgun, your snub gives you a very, very good way to counteract that distance. So as I was explaining that, you can see I got the last torture pod open. We have rescued both of the prisoners. We now have a 3/4 full squad, and the objective is right where we started, so we're going to start making our way there. But again, you know we're going to end up getting ambushed, and I did see there's an epic case over there that I want to get. Again, at this point in the game, you don't really have to be collecting these because you should have good enough gear that you're able to make it through the game without needing to go out of your way the way I am right now, but it's not a huge deal if you do want to grab them. Like I said, I grab them because I don't think that there's anything wrong with having extra kit and extra equipment to give your soldiers, but if you felt like leaving this one behind, at this point in the game, you're probably fine. So, I know that the reinforcements that are going to come are going to show up between me and the new objective, so I'm putting my units into cover, anticipating that they're going to drop pretty much right there. So, we have, I believe, another Cantus, and we have 3 tickers. Not the worst situation. The tickers hopefully are going to bottleneck down towards us. That's what I'm banking on. There's a nice wide stairway right there that I'm hoping the tickers are going to take advantage of and mean that I can either throw some proximity mines or get some grenades on them and cause a chain reaction. You can see again, I'm moving my units back a little bit instead of being aggressive. I'm hoping that the enemies are going to come down to me, and I am also hoping that I can grab this last case, and here we go. Really in the just totally wrong direction from where I'm supposed to be going, but you know, I wasn't in a rush. I don't have the kill timer on me anymore, and all I'm doing is waiting to see where these tickers are going to end up kind of posting up. So we're going to move up a little bit. We're going to be very cautious because we're not entirely sure which direction these enemies are going to be coming from, and I'm just going to wait. There's still action points to be had. I'm anticipating, like I said, that the enemies are going to use this stairway, so I'm kind of putting my units in an area where we should be able to ambush them as they come down the stairs. The big thing is we don't want to get too close and end up in the blast zone of the tickers, because you don't survive ticker explosions on insane difficulty. You don't. So here comes the Cantus. We see one ticker right there. They are slowly starting to make their way up to us, which is fantastic. So I'm going to move my my other unit up, and hopefully by the time the enemies start coming down to us, I'll have a good field of fire on the area that they emerge from. You can see here I really don't have the action points to move any closer without exposing myself to fire. I don't think the Cantus would be able to shoot from that far and hit me, or have a chance of hitting me, but again, when you're playing on Insane, you don't take chances like this. So, you see I've got Marcella tucked in right behind this barricade. I'm trying to find the best place to set her up where I'll be able to maximize both her grenades and her shotgun, and I think right on the other side of this planter is a good idea. Now, this is a risky move because it does put me at in an exposed position where the Cantus could take the high ground and start shooting down at me, but I'm banking on the fact that I don't think the Cantus's range of movement is going to get him far enough over that he'll be able to shoot over the cliff or over the ledge at me. Now, just for the heck of it, I'm messing with the frag grenade, seeing if I can start lobbing them up at the enemies, and from the position that I'm in, I can't. So I'm going to actually come around to this side of the planter, or the box. I can't quite tell what that is at the bottom of the stairs. And my thought is that now I should be able to throw the grenades up the stairs if anything takes cover at the top of the stairs and start doing some damage on them. Now, the Cantus did get to the top of the stairs, and he did actually take a shot at us. I was wrong on his range of movement. He could get a lot further than I thought, and he did manage to hit me, but I was in cover, and it was only a partial hit, so I didn't take that much damage, surprisingly. So, now that it's my turn again, I am able to start doing some work. I'm going to use Marcella, I'm going to use the proximity mine, throw it up there right next to that Cantus, and we're going to use the same trick that we've used before. Unfortunately, Marcella's frag grenade wasn't ready this time, so we're going to have to actually activate the proximity mine with another character's frag grenade. So here we go, kaboom, kaboom. You see all the double explosion, you see the Cantus rolling around up there, but he's still alive. 583 hit points left. Marcella is ready to go with a frag, so here we go. Up and over, and that should take that Cantus out. Perfect. And now all we have is the 3 tickers who, they can't climb ladders, so they have to use stairs. So we're going to move our support unit up. We're going to kind of get in position and get ready for anything that, any route the tickers could take. I noticed that I had stim grenades, and I never have a chance to use stim grenades, so I decided to throw one and heal up my damaged unit, and that's going to be it for this turn. Now again, we're waiting on the tickers. They have to only come one way, or they can only come one way, and right there, that's what I was hoping for. They're advancing towards the stairs, which is just fantastic. So we're going to go to work. Again, because of the equipment and the skills that I have set on Marcella, her frag grenades are ready to go every single turn. So I'm just going to go ahead and lob one up there, take that ticker off the map, kaboom. And now there's only 2 tickers left, and we just have to either play it cool and play it safe and wait, or we can try to sneak up behind them and get an angle on them. So there's a ladder right here. You can kind of see to the right of my unit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and lure the tickers down towards Marcella on the stairs, and hope that I can get my other 2 units up the ladder while Marcella deals with the tickers, and that'll get us that much closer to the objective, because eventually the game is going to drop more reinforcements at you or on you, and you really don't want to be caught out in the open, because on the second round of reinforcements you can have them drop behind you. They're not going to necessarily drop right on the extraction point, so you don't want to get sandwiched in between enemies in front of you and enemies behind you. It's just not going to work well. So you can see I went invisible, hoping that what would happen is the tickers would kind of walk past me and then I could hit them from behind, but that didn't happen. So now I sort of have to do a little bit of fancy footwork. I moved myself away from the tickers again, and here we go. We got a frag grenade, and I'm going to throw one. I'm trying to clip them both without hitting myself and kill them both, and I can just barely do that. So I hit that sweet spot, and there we go. All tickers, all enemies are off the map. We're pretty close to the objective, so I'm going to use what I have left for ability, or action points, to use my sprint ability, and that's going to close the gap as much as I can on that, the escape ring, and I'm going to move my other rescued units up the ladder and try to get as close as I can to that ring. It looks like I'm actually going to be able to do it with this unit. The second unit I doubt I'll be able to do. No, not quite. So we're just going to get as close as I can. I don't care about being in cover right now because, again, the field is clear of enemies. There are no enemies that can do me any damage, so being in cover does not matter. All I'm trying to do is maximize my movement and get myself as close as possible to the extraction zone. And that's about it, guys. There's no enemies that drop in. There's no E-holes. There's no ambush. There's no Reavers that drop in reinforcements. We've made it through. I don't know who's shooting at us in this cutscene because all the enemies are dead. But that is it. That is the mission Grim Eclipse, the first Act 3-4 side mission. You can see we got a legendary impact barrel, which is going to be fantastic for Gabe. Has the disrupt skill and plus 30 damage. Plus we got some epic cases to open up. So we'll go ahead and we'll pop these cases open so you can see what we got. And our rescued units should get level ups. Yes, they do, but unfortunately Marcella does not. So we'll open up our cases, see what we get for goodies, and that's going to be it. I appreciate you guys checking out the video. Make sure you stick around. We're going to have more videos like this coming up. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and bye-bye. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe. You can also check us out on Twitch at Hammer Bros Gaming. I am Bladesofgod, and until next time, have a great day everyone.